Hello, this is Sickle Yield, recording this tutorial for the third time because of first OBS settings being incorrect, sorry about that, and then from sound issues. So hopefully we get it this time, okay? Here we have Genesis 8 female, and here we have the Sylvia cutout platform heels by Quodrex or Cwodrex. I apologize if I get the name wrong. So the problem here is that if I try to load these on Genesis 8 female, I get an autofit pop-up because their scene identification is set to 8.1 and not G8. If you are creating content yourself, you always want to set scene ID to G8 and not 8.1 if you're working with this figure generation, because while G8 clothing can fit 8.1, clothing that's set to 8.1 cannot, as you have seen, fit G8. So I'm going to select these heels. I'm going to go to the Scene tab. If you do not have a Scene tab, you can create one using Window, Panes, Tabs, and it'll be in this list. But for now, I'm going to click this button at the top right here of my Scene tab and choose Edit and Scene Identification. This pop-up should appear. And here under Preferred Base, you can see it says Genesis 8.1 Female. So I'm going to hit the little ... on the right of that, and it will come up with a long list. The important thing here is that I want Genesis 8 and female from this list, and I'm going to click Accept. And then I'm going to click Accept again. And now, if I right-click on this and choose Fit To and Genesis 8 female and Accept, now it works. So I also want to preserve this foot pose because if I try to apply an 8.1 pose, you can see here, I just get an error message. So I'm going to create both a new file entry and a new wearables. So first, I'm going to select the platform heels, copy their name, and File, Save as Support Asset, Figure Prop Asset. And in that same folder, I'm going to use that name but call it G8F so that I don't overwrite anything this time. I think in the first version I suggested overwriting, but I think it's easier in the long term to not do that. So save. In this pop-up, I'm going to choose Quodrex for my vendor name from the drop-down. I've got a long list because I've got a lot of content. Let's see. Because I have to as a vendor. There we go. Product name. I'm going to add an F onto that, and I've already got an F added to the item name, and then I'll click Accept. Okay. And it created an entry there with an auto-generated thumbnail. And if I delete the shoes from the scene and now load them from there again, now they actually work and don't trigger autofit. And I want to create a wearables also. You can't start from the wearables because that doesn't save the mesh and rigging and everything, just some settings. So you have to save this library entry first. So having done that, now I'm going to save a wearables. And to do that, you have selected the base figure. Then you hit this little plus sign in the content library and choose wearables. And instead of overwriting that again, I'm going to choose G8F and space and W. You can overwrite that. It just means that you don't have access to some of the settings of the actual mesh without loading from the data files directly and using like a text editor. So I prefer to have redundancy rather than do that. If I'm releasing a product, I'll probably have to use a wearables instead of a library entry and a wearables, but for my own preference, this is what I do. So save. This comes up. I'm going to uncheck the shorts and sports bra I have there for modesty on YouTube. Just leave the heels checked, and then under pose, I'm going to check this at the top, but uncheck everything. And then I'll go down the list and just check the feet to preserve the foot pose. And click Accept. So now I have new entries here. And if I delete the shoes from the scene and hit Control-Shift-F with G8F selected to zero the pose, there we go. Then if I hit that wearable, it applies the pose and the shoes. So that should fix the problem. If when you're working with G8 and G8.1, you run into an 8.1 item that will not load on G8. This won't work for body textures or things like that because they don't share a UV, but they do share a rig, so it should work for clothes. Hopefully that fixes the problem if you run into it. Thank you for watching and happy rendering.